You like my outfit today? All gray?
What did somebody say the other day? The whole monochrome look. Yeah, look. That's...
Monochrome. So I'm the gray Ricky Fowler. That's what you called me one time.
Well, you showed up to play golf. Probably the last time we played. And you had on gray shoes, gray pants, gray shirt.
All different shades.
A gray hat, and I think you had a gray glove. It's like, wow, okay.
Pretty cool, right? I think it's pretty cool.
It makes matching easier, huh? You got to pick out clothes. You're like, oh, yeah.
If it's a shade of gray, then it works. So I got this hat in the mail that I purchased. It's a Cotopaxi hat, and I love their brand. And so I bought it, and it's a sun hat. It has like the full brim around it. And then, Michelle, I put it on, and Michelle was just like, you cannot wear this. Like, this is embarrassing. She's like, I won't be seen with you wearing this. She said, it looks like a teddy bear should wear this hat. Because it has like the big blotches of color and stuff. And I think it's cool.
That's good feedback.
I don't know. It kind of hurt my feelings a little bit, but I did return it, and I didn't get anything else. I mean, finding a good sun hat is a hard thing to find. So
well, they all, you said, what should I look for? I was like, I don't know. They all look kind of goofy. I mean, they're very practical, but they don't.
Yeah, they all look kind of goofy is not great advice. They all look. I mean, I was thinking there's got to be a cool brand out there that has great sun hats. But I'm just an anti-sun person in general. I don't want to get burned. You know what else I'm an anti? We went to the beach. I hate those beach wagons.
Why? Because you have to tote it?
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about. The wheels don't even turn. Mm-hmm. You just pull it through the sand. And then they're like, oh, yeah. Well, Kevin, you're in charge of the wagon.
Well, the problem is when you get a wagon, people think they can throw everything, in there. It's like, oh, put a cooler. We got room. Put a cooler. Put a speaker.
Including
the toys.
The kids.
Oh, yeah.
The kids ride in it. And you're pulling this wagon through. I mean, it's just
I think you carry a lot less stuff if people have to carry their own things. Backpack, chair, true. One toy.
And here's the other part is that you get out there, you get all set up and everything, and then it's like, I'm ready to go back. Mm-mm. Well, I mean, I'm ready after, hardly any time, but like it just feels like a waste. That's why I go to the beach once a year. This is a series for financial advisors. We offer easy to implement marketing and practice management advice. This is the Stephen and Kevin Show. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 121 of the Stephen and Kevin Show. Today, our topic is 7 unspoken fears that sabotage your marketing.
Today, we're going to be diving into what holds some people back from thought leadership efforts. Mm-hmm. A lot of it's self-consciousness, it's mental.
Sure.
The mechanics of it aren't all that difficult in terms of creating social content or videos. Yeah. But mentally, it's hard sometimes.
It is. And we're going to talk about some of these fears. We're going to kind of lay them on the table today and put them in the open because there's things that sometimes we have to, it's like pulling teeth to get this out of advisors, but there's something that's holding them back from doing it. And you're right. Sometimes it is more thought leadership efforts versus just generic marketing.
Yeah, to level set, we're big believers in thought leadership that includes you, the advisor, your face, your voice, you, right? And, that means oftentimes you're having to show up on video, you're having to write your own thoughts down, you're having to have your face in your social post.
Right.
And the why behind all that is, to us, fairly obvious that you get scalability through digital marketing in a way that you don't get in real life. Like networking means, you go out in the community, you meet people, you get involved. You only have so many hours in the day. You can only shake so many hands. With digital marketing, it can work 24/7 behind the scenes, but you've got to be willing to show up. It's not like you're going to put some ad spend behind some generic post that you got from a fund company and all of a sudden, this is landing you a lot of business.
Not going to happen.
It's got to include you. And for that to happen, you've got to work through, I don't know if they're always unspoken. We've heard these for a reason.
True.
We hear these in calls with financial advisors, but we want to work through some of these. So if one of these is holding you back, that we can nip it.
Yeah. And we say unspoken because I think sometimes it's, again, not surface level, not people raising their hand and saying, I don't want to do that because of this.
Well, good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the stated reason is often, I don't have time,
Yes.
Do you really not?
I don't have time, or, I don't know if it's really going to land me any business. I don't know if it's worth it. And we'll talk about that one today a little bit, but there's something else that's holding them back. We're going to talk about those things today and hopefully help you get over some of these mental hurdles. So let's start with the first unspoken fear today. And again, this is related to more thought leadership style marketing, and that's the fear of peer reactions. The fear that other financial advisors are going to judge you. Maybe it's also that your neighbor is going to judge you, right? Or that your brother-in-law is going to judge you, right? It's their reaction to what you're going to start putting out.
Your close friends, maybe, they see you in their Instagram feed and they're like, look at this,
Yes.
Yeah. And I don't think it's the target audience that we're afraid of. Like the target audience, if you're thinking about creating a video, giving great financial advice, 2-minute clip on something or another, you're not afraid so much necessarily about what ideal client thinks about it. It's valuable to them. They don't know you, perhaps. This is valuable. It's all good, right? But the financial advisor competitor of yours down the road who may, jab you about it a little bit, think it's funny that you're showing up on Instagram or what. I'm using that as an example, but I think that gets in people's heads sometimes.
It definitely does. I remember an advisor in our video program who early on was in the program, and he, after a month or two of being in it, he called and wanted to cancel. And this program was like brand new at this point. So I was like, okay, I want to get feedback. Like, what's going on here? So I called him up. I was like, hey, what's going on? Like, you're great on camera. You're doing a great job. And he said, well, he brought up things like you said, like, oh, it takes a lot of time. And I'm not sure if this is the right avenue for me. And peeling back the onion with him, it became actually that he was out at a bar the night before with some old colleagues of his, and they were all kind of joking about it. And then they were like, oh, yeah, see, John here is putting out these videos here, and he took it personally, and it made him want to stop doing this. Now, we talked him out of it, but that to me, that the fear of peer or, reactions, people within your circles, is something that we just have to get over.
Yeah, there are two parts of it that you have to get over it for the sake of they don't impact your bottom line. It doesn't really matter what they think.
Right.
And you got to have a little bit of self-confidence in that regard. And the other is, where it's coming from. It's jealousy. Like they see you going out, experimenting, trying something new, doing something they know deep down they probably should be doing too.
Yep. I love that. I love that. And, the best advisors get out there, they market themselves. They're not afraid of the spotlight. They put themselves out there unapologetically. Matt Oxley used to always say brazen self-promotion. Right, put yourself out there.
It's not bragging if it's true, Kevin.
Oh my gosh, that's a famous Matt Oxley quote. So that's one of a big fear. One of the biggest ones is a reason why we put it front and center. Many of you listening might be thinking, or you've considered, I want to get into video marketing or podcasting or, kind of any of these mediums. Even when you're thinking about social posts where it have pictures of you in it, and it's that. Gosh, other people are going to judge me. How are they going to perceive it?
What's funny to me is that I don't think there's anything embarrassing or weird about being on video as a financial advisor. I think certain other marketing activities are a little bit embarrassing. Like yesterday, I got a mailer, this guy's big face on it, Ruth's Chris dinner, come join us.
Yeah. And
part of me thought, well, maybe I'm going to show up. This is, I've never taken the bait, so to speak. But then I looked, I was like, that's kind of embarrassing. Like if my peers saw that, I'd be like, yeah. Or if your peers catch wind that you're still knocking out hundreds of cold calls or sending out spam messages on LinkedIn, some of that stuff is kind of embarrassing, I think.
Or knocking on doors.
Yeah, to some, yeah. I mean, but I think more so here what we're saying is forget about it when it comes to digital marketing. Everybody's doing it. Number 2, fear. Fear of not being interesting enough. Like, what am I going to say?
This was one of your biggest fears when you first said
it. Still wrestle with this one. What am I going to say that hasn't already been said? What's new and interesting about this financial planning concept that's been around for forever?
Yeah. I mean, you're going to offer your perspective on it. And I think that's what makes it interesting, right? And that, you also have to realize that this topic extremely well, but that doesn't mean that your target market knows it that well.
Absolutely. And I can relate. I mean, there's certain things that we talk about that feel a little bit old hat, that you're like, people have covered this topic, let's say referrals since the beginning of sales training.
Yeah.
It's still valuable.
Or think about the webinar we just had this week on social prospecting. We're talking about converting people from social to business. And gosh, we've talked about that forever. The response that we got, like, oh my gosh, this was amazing content. This was fantastic. Which I was like, oh yeah, we've been talking about that a long time. But for someone else, it's brand new.
And sometimes it's the right timing. They needed to hear the message at that particular moment in their lives. And the same with the personal finance advice that you offer. you hit somebody with it at the right time and it's really meaningful to them,
Yep.
you're likely more exposed to that kind of content than they are. It's not all that common for them.
So this fear of not being interesting enough because you're talking about topics that they can get information on widely. I mean, it's available, right? It is about your unique perspective on it, and it is about the stories that you tell as well, right? Hearing you tell your own stories, your own scenarios that you've experienced, that's interesting to people.
Mm-hmm. Love it. Number 3, fear of looking too small.
So, gosh, I'm a solo advisor. I'm going to look very mom and pop here to be putting out videos, right? Or selfie style videos or walk and talks or my podcast, because I mean, some of the bigger firms, they're not necessarily doing that, right? And you don't want to be perceived in that way.
It's almost like some people fear the transparency that it's me and an assistant, or it's just me getting started.
Yeah.
When they do that, by the way, you've seen a ton of this, Kevin. They'll show us a website they had created that is obscure for a reason. Like
Yes.
It doesn't have an about us or a bio page. It's like,
Yes.
oh, we're this corporate entity when it's one person.
Yep.
And I think that's worse than just being transparent about it. It is what it is. Maybe
Yeah.
some people even prefer a smaller provider as opposed to a huge company or huge team. Embrace it for what it is.
I think so too. I think it's your superpower as a smaller business is to have that face to the brand, rather than being this mysterious brand. And I've seen exactly what you said, which is like, well, it's just me and an assistant. I don't want to make that known on the website. I don't know if that's necessarily the right angle.
Yeah, information's out there now.
Yeah.
I mean, showing up on video, showing up in social content with you and a small team, perfectly okay.
Also, some clients or prospective clients are going to see it as a positive. They don't always want to work with the mega company or corporation where it's a call center that they're reaching at. Like they want that boutique feel, right? All right, number 4. This is an interesting one. Again, especially when you think about creating more content, being out there. I don't want to look gimmicky. I don't want to look too salesy and gimmicky by putting out content, too trendy. Maybe that's another way to say it.
And I think it comes when you're embracing a platform that's a newer platform. I mean, I remember back in the day when we were first training digital marketing, we were talking about LinkedIn and we would bring up Facebook and people would be looking at us like we were insane.
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember
You're right.
It was an event we did and we had this whole module planned about how to incorporate Facebook into your marketing efforts. And it went over. We had grand ambitions of this being like the hit of the conference.
I feel like I presented some of this.
Oh, I did too. And it was like, people
Thud.
were not into it.
Like, are you kidding me?
And I think part of it is when anything is new, like for example, right now with TikTok or Instagram, the perceived audience there is younger. If you're a more mature financial advisor, you've been in the business, embracing those platforms, may feel a little bit gimmicky or might feel like as if you're trying to act too young, sort of a thing. Like nobody wants to be the older person who's trying to dress like the teenagers, If I showed up today and I was dressed like my 14-year-old, you guys would be like, what is he doing? Like, why is he wearing that?
He's kind of cool.
You might like it. Yeah. But we're fearful of that in some ways. And my perception on that is if you're showing up authentically yourself, doesn't matter what platform. True. So let's say you get a wild hair and you're a more, seasoned financial advisor and you say, you know what, I'm going to get on TikTok. Why not? If you show up and you're offering legitimate advice you're talking like yourself, you're sharing relevant stories, it doesn't matter what platform you're on.
Mm-hmm. What about jumping on some of the trends though? Like, I think there's certain ones that you could jump on. When I say, trends, I mean certain songs or styles of editing for these platforms that become really trendy and then they it goes away, right? That those things kind of come and go. I think it's okay to jump on certain ones. I think you just have to be careful with making sure you're not too outside of yourself.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think if let's say you're a 40-year-old advisor and you're targeting people who are up and coming professionals.
Yeah.
Embrace more of that than you would if you're a 65-year-old advisor and wanting to, maybe tap into some clients who are now much more so on Instagram and TikTok or YouTube Shorts or any of those.
I picture them like doing a cool dance on TikTok.
No, I don't. I don't think you go that far.
Yeah.
But you can find. I think it's important to find some examples of people who have done it right. People that you can look at and say, "Oh, I get how he or she is doing it. I could do it in the exact same way. Stay true to myself and still broaden my reach." I mean, that's what a lot of this is about: is how do we get out there and expose ourselves to more people?
Yeah.
And these networks are popular.
Yeah. So I get it. I think this one is legitimate. You just have to make sure we don't go too far out of our natural self. And maybe over time you get more comfortable with it and you do jump on a few trends every now and then, but nothing too out there.
Number 5, fear of not looking professional. Like if it looks kind of amateurish, who's going to trust me with their money?
Right.
It's valid.
I think this is a really valid one.
Yeah, it's avoidable, but it's valid.
To me, especially when we're thinking about video or photography, this is where I think having a professional help you with some of these things could be really beneficial. Like if your fear is, gosh, I want to do this, but I'm not going to look professional in doing it, and then I'm going to subsequently hurt my brand, then bring in someone else to help you with it, someone who's experienced with it. Now, on the other side of it, there is some authenticity that is valuable on these networks as well. Like there is something that comes from this kind of raw, like, video that I'm putting out on a few of these, but if they, but it runs a risk.
Yeah, I mean, I think the authenticity comes from your demeanor on the video more so than the poor quality of the video. I think you set up like a great camera and microphone and you be yourself. That's great authenticity. Shakiness, poor quality equipment, poor quality editing.
Yeah. We're really biased here.
Well, but I mean, it does matter. And I think, it's the reason why you lean on team members. It's the reason why you outsource some of this stuff. And it's not as if you throw unlimited budget of it at it. I mean, if you said, well, we've got $100,000 marketing budget for this kind of stuff this year. Yeah, you buy a lot of equipment. You have professional film crews come in all the time. But for many of you getting started, you take it one step at a time. You're going to do something, do it high quality, outsource parts of it that are outside of your sweet spot. And you have to also look at it as if you're concerned about this, you're ahead of most. Like there's a lot of people who don't have any concern for that. I mean, early days with us, Matt Oxley was like, get the content out there. He could care less what camera was being used.
Yeah.
He didn't care about the backdrop. He was true to like, get the message out there. And there was a lot of we put out hundreds of videos now for that reason, that mentality. But people who really are concerned about this, overly concerned with this, never produce any content because they're so afraid of it not coming out just perfectly right.
So there's a little bit of a balance between this one. I mean, in some ways, I feel like Matt Oxley was ahead of his time with that one, where he's like, just create the content. And this was so early on. I remember showing him Gary Vee videos. Like, I mean, just when Gary Vee was just starting to get popular, and he was like, just do like him, put it out there.
Like, maybe we should do this one again. He's like, no, that was good. Move on. What's the next video?
Yes. Yeah. And there's some truth in that. The fear for advisors sometimes is this, like, gosh, I'm going to look too unpolished. And why would someone trust me with their money if I look really unpolished? We have to find a little bit of a balance there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, telling somebody with $5 million, convincing them to become your client versus selling sneakers or something else that's
very different.
Low budget. Yeah, big difference. You need some element of quality there. And I think sticking with what your strengths are. If you're naturally good on camera, go to video. Yeah. Like it's going to be better quality. If you're naturally a good writer, focus on that.
True.
If you find you've got a lot going on personally, and photography can help you capture that with you and your team and your family life, great. Use that and get that out in your content.
All right, 6th fear. This one, I don't think almost anyone brings up, but I know that they're thinking about it, and that's just fear of technology, especially for a more senior advisor. I don't know how to do all of this. This feels very overwhelming. Gosh, it's going to be more hassle than it's worth.
Yeah,
it's
and
over my head.
Fear may be the wrong word. Maybe it's an avoidance of technology. That it's my viewpoint that you want to know enough about the subject to be able to manage it, whether it's being done inside of your team or being outsourced. You want to know, like, what is good social content? What are the metrics we should be looking at? How does advertising work? And you can learn a lot through, as we have over the years, YouTube tutorials. You can ask AI any question under the sun, and it gives you a great tutorial.
Right.
But it just takes you being in that learning mindset. It takes the flip of the mindset that says, "I'm not good at technology. I don't like this. I like the old school better." It takes a little bit of a flip of that switch that says, you know what? Maybe things were better back when I had a preference for the way things worked in this era. Great, but we're moving in a way that is increasingly digital, and I have to take it upon myself as a business person to learn how some of this stuff works.
Yeah, I found that if you dive into it, you find that it's really not as complicated as it may seem. A lot of times, I think just the fear of the unknown with the technology is the scary part, as opposed to actually getting in there and starting to learn it. I mean, learning any new tool out there, it's not that complex.
Like thinking about how, like, let's say ChatGPT, for example, can work with you collaboratively to teach you something.
Mm-hmm.
And it's different than Google searching was, for example, right? If you go into Google and you type in, I'll give you a real life example. I'm helping my sons with their brakes on their bike this week. I don't know how to repair mountain bike brakes with hydraulic fluid. I don't have that skill set. So we go into chat and we're saying, how does this work? Well, what is this? Here's a picture.
Okay.
What should I do next? Well, what if it's doing this? And it's like your own collaborative guide. You do the same with anything really, but
true.
In this space, you want to know how do Google ads work? Okay, well, what does that mean? How would I work this as a financial advisor? Mm-hmm. What's a realistic budget? I mean, it's really within a half an hour, you could have a really good understanding of how Google ads work.
Exactly. You have to be willing to learn, though.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to try something new. The last fear today is one that actually it's probably the most vocalized fear, and that is the fear of wasting time and money. I am putting out more thought leadership style content. Am I just throwing money away? Am I wasting my time with this? This is a common fear, and a lot of the question we get sometimes is going to be, what's the ROI of that? What's the ROI of these videos? What's that? And I mean, I remember this advisor I worked with a long time ago, and I coached him for a while, and he got into our video program, started making videos, and on our second or third call, he said, well, I've been putting out a couple of videos. My phone's not ringing, though. And I was like, ha, 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 that's funny, And he was like, dead serious, though.
I remember the email we got from a guy that said, if you can't provide me exact ROI for this video campaign, I think you were all a bunch of crooks or something to that effect. I'm like, wow, I know. Who hurt you?
Right, exactly.
It's I think inherently hard to track thought leadership efforts and their impact on your bottom line. We track it by asking people how you found us, what exposure have you had to our podcast and other thought leadership efforts.
Exactly.
And that gives you more confidence that what you're doing is working.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been at it for a long time, so we've heard enough evidence to keep us coming back for 120 some odd episodes of the Stephen and Kevin Show,
right?
And other efforts that we put out. But I think it is you can't wholly discount the idea of things like impressions, engagement. I think,
subscribers.
Yeah, I think some people hear those things and you're like, no, we can get you more impressions on that content. We can further your reach. We can get you more engagement. And they're like, what is that? That doesn't pay my bills.
Right.
Right. And while that's true, these are building blocks to what we are trying to achieve in the sense that I want everybody in this area, if I'm a financial advisor, I want everybody to know who I am. I want them seeing that I'm smart and diligent and I really care about this. Like the more people see that, impressions are a means to an end there. Engagement is a means to an end there. And we've got to take that with a little less like nonchalance than I think some people give it.
Yeah, I agree with you. And it's going to take time to build this. It's not going to happen necessarily overnight. I mean, you could get lucky, right? But it's like, even thinking about building our YouTube channel and how we've done that. And now that we can attribute new business to YouTube, we get that way more than we've ever gotten it before. Same thing with podcasting. Same thing with Google Ads. We're seeing more and more of it. But it took time.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of people who have that fear of like, I don't want to put money into this. I feel like it's a black hole. I feel like this is snake oil.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more of, looking at it as how it amplifies the marketing you're already doing, the marketing that you're used to. Like, so when somebody is referred to you and they look you up online, what are they finding? Like, that's the mentality some of these people need to, I think, take on.
Yeah.
So it's less of an isolated funnel that is digital marketing and more so I'm still out there shaking hands, meeting COIs, talking with clients about introduction opportunities, doing all the things that have worked traditionally, but with a recognition that people are still, after they're done meeting with me, on their phone.
Yep.
I can show up in their Facebook feed. I can send them, videos afterwards that illustrate our process. Like, there's a lot that's happening to amplify it if we do it right.
Yeah. This is great. Yeah. I mean, I think today we try to hit upon some of the psychology, trying to think about how advisors are perceiving in different marketing efforts, especially when it comes to influencer style marketing, and some of those fears that they have, and how do we get past those? Because ultimately, we want you to be doing more of this stuff, right? When you get out there and you start creating more content, building more relationships digitally, and I'm telling you, people notice. And when you said don't discount impressions, absolutely. There's so many people who are looking at your content and seeing it who are not commenting, who aren't mentioning it. But then you run into them somewhere, and they're like, by the way, I saw your video on this. It's pretty cool, right? They are consuming it more than you realize, and it ultimately is going to have a big impact on your business.
Thanks for joining, everybody. If you haven't already subscribed to our channel, please do. Would love to have that. Connect with us on LinkedIn. What else? Any other plugs, Kevin?
No, I think that's it.
All right.
That's good.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.